The desert of Archean 9 stretched to every horizon, a storm of violet sand, whispering like static beneath to pale suns. Winds swept over glass dunes that shimmered, as though the planet itself were made of shattered mirrors. Captain Rhett Solari throttled down his skimmer and let it drift to a halt. On a ridge of obsidian gravel, the craft's ion jets whined, then faded into silence. He sat there for a moment, visor open, breathing in the filtered air and the strange scent of ozone that always hung over this world. He was tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixed, but the kind that comes from seeing too much space. For 20 years he'd flown supply convoys through the Outer Belt Wars, hauling medicine, weapons, sometimes bodies. He'd watched moons burn, watched commanders lie, watched peace dissolve into the vacuum. And when the treaties came, Rhett didn't go home to Earth. There wasn't anything left there for him. So, when a crooked trader in a rusting, orbital bar offered him a desert dome habitat for half price and 1 bottle of pre-collapse whiskey, Rhett didn't even haggle. He just said, "Where do I sign?" The trader's smile had been too wide. "You'll like it," the man said. "Quiet place, ancient place. Locals say it used to listen to the stars. Rival no, standing before the dome." Rhett wondered if he'd been conned. The structure rose from the sand like a blister of glass and rusted alloy, cracked, half buried, its curved surface veined with the shadows of time. Faded glyphs marked its sides in languages older than the Empire. The wind moaned through the cracks, a low, almost mournful hum. He stepped closer, boots crunching over the violet grit. The dome's airlock still recognized his wrist ident, though he didn't remember registering one. The old metal door hissed open, releasing a gust of stale, recycled oxygen that smelled faintly of copper and something sweet. Inside, it was surprisingly intact. The walls pulsed with faint bioluminescent veins, threads of blue and green that moved like capillaries through transparent alloy. Dust floated through the air like cosmic pollen. In the center of the dome stood a control pedestal surrounded by shattered monitors and petrified vines. Rhett exhaled slowly. While he muttered, beats dying in orbit, he unpacked his gear, a cot, a toolkit, a field stove, and began clearing debris. Every sound echoed. The place felt vast, hollow, and yet alive. The Maphors later, as he sat against the pedestal eating half a ration bar. The dome's core came to life. A pulse of light rippled beneath the floor, green, then gold, and a holographic sphere flickered into being above the control days. Rhett froze. The hologram resolved into a map, not of stars, but of the land beneath the desert. Thread-like rivers glowed in impossible blues, snaking deep below the sands. "Water?" he whispered, incredulous. "On Archean 9? It couldn't be. The planet had been dry for centuries. Terraforming had failed generations ago. But there it was, a network of glowing currents running like veins beneath his feet. One pulse on the map burned brighter than the rest, a node. Miles to the south, marked with a symbol that resembled an eye made of fire. Rhett leaned in, his shadow cutting across the display. "What the hell were you people studying down here?" The echoes of the past dome hummed in answer. Then, without warning, a voice filled the air, soft, synthetic, and strangely human. "Containment integrity, 72%. Reanimation process halted. Awaiting command." Rhett stumbled back. "Who said that?" "Accessing Central Archive. Command user, Captain Rhett Solari. Authorization accepted." His stomach tightened. He hadn't authorized anything. "Welcome back, Captain," the voice said. "The daughters of Valeris remain secure beneath primary strata. Do you wish to resume observation?" He froze. The what? No answer came. The hologram dimmed, the lights fading back into the sand beneath the floor. Only the wind outside filled the silence again. Rhett rubbed a hand over his face. "Maybe the dome's still got old logs running," he muttered. "Glitch in the system," but the voice had said his name, and the dome had accepted him as captain. Night will be the time the twin suns fell. The temperature had dropped to near freezing. Rhett sat by a small thermal lantern, listening to the hum of the air recyclers and the distant rumble of shifting dunes. Through the cracked dome above, he could see the stars, more stars than any man could count. Archean 9 had no atmosphere thick enough to blur the view. Every constellation looked like it had been carved in ice. He pulled his flight jacket tighter and stared at the faint outline of the holographic pedestal. That voice had said reanimation process halted. Reanimation of what? He tapped his wrist console, logging coordinates of the glowing node on the map. Something in him, curiosity, instinct, maybe loneliness, told him to find it. Outside, the wind howled like an ancient beast, dragging dust across the glass. The dome's veins pulsed faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. As though listening, Rhett Solari, the pilot who had spent half his life running from ghosts, had just bought himself a home built over something that wasn't supposed to live at all. And somewhere far below, deep beneath the glowing sands, something old and scaled and dreaming turned its head, sensing that a human voice had finally returned. For 3 days, Captain Rhett Solari lived like a ghost inside the dome. He patched cracks, rebooted half-dead systems, and scrolled through logs written in languages that hadn't been spoken since the first stellar exodus. The AI voice that had greeted him remained silent, but the dome still watched him. He could feel it in the air, in the faint pulse of light that followed him when he walked from one chamber to the next. Every night, he dreamed of water, of a sound that shouldn't exist on a desert world, the sound of flowing rivers. When he woke, his throat was dry, and the same phrase echoed in his mind like a whisper caught between dimensions. The daughters of Alaris remained secure beneath primary strata. By the 4th morning, Rhett couldn't stand it any longer. He packed his plasma torch, sensor drones, a few oxygen cartridges, and a flask of whiskey, because he had a feeling he'd need courage more than air. Descent into the subsurface dome's floor wasn't solid glass, as he'd assumed. Beneath a layer of fused sand and circuitry lay a network of access hatches, sealed with organic locks, smooth plates that opened not with a code, but with a touch. When Rhett's hand brushed one, it shivered like living skin and split open, revealing a spiral shaft dropping into the earth. Warm air rose from below, tinged with salt and minerals. Hell of a basement, he muttered, lowering himself in. He descended for what felt like hours, guided only by his suit lights and the faint hum of distant machinery. The deeper he went, the less the tunnel felt artificial. Walls changed from alloy to stone, from stone to some kind of bone-like substance laced with faintly glowing veins. His sensors glitched and rebooted twice. The compass spun in lazy circles. At last, the shaft opened into a cavern so vast his lights couldn't find the ceiling. The hidden river stood on a ridge overlooking an underground world, a cathedral of rock and phosphorescent mist, and there, flowing through its center, was a river. Not just water, light, liquid radiance, running like molten glass, colors shifting between turquoise and gold. Steam rose in soft veils that glowed against the cavern walls. The air was heavy with humidity and the scent of minerals, ozone, and something floral. Impossible, Rhett whispered, his visor fogged as he spoke. You're not supposed to exist. He knelt, touched the ground. It was warm. The river radiated life, and above it, bioluminescent vines hung from the ceiling like stars frozen mid-fall. For a long while, he just stood there, staring in silence. The loneliness of the desert, the years of war, all seemed to melt away before the beauty of it. And then, a sound, a splash. Rhett froze. He turned slowly toward the noise. At first, he thought his eyes deceived him, light bent strangely here, and his scanners refused to read life forms. But then the mist parted, and he saw them. The 4 emerged from the glowing river one by one, water cascading off scales that shimmered like liquid jewels. For women, tall, graceful, inhumanly radiant, their bodies seemed carved from starlight and tempered in flame. Each bore long, elegant horns that curved like obsidian crowns, and wings folded neatly behind them, wings that looked both organic and metallic, dripping faint sparks as they moved. The air itself seemed to change color with their presence. The first, crimson, with hair like burning copper, moved with the authority of command. The second, sapphire, cool-eyed and calm, carried herself like a scholar. The third, a jade, fierce and restless, studied Rhett like a predator unsure whether to strike. The fourth, silver, smaller and softer in gaze, lingered behind them, her eyes wide with curiosity and sadness, They spoke in tones that weren't entirely words, melodic harmonics that reverberated through the air, resonating in Rhett's bones. His translator chip flickered, struggling, then found a pattern. "A skyman," the Crimson One said at last, her voice low and melodic, like the rumble of a starship engine. "From the upper world," murmured the Jade Sister. "No one has come here for millennia." Rhett raised his hands slowly, palms open. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just followed the map." "The dome still remembers?" asked the Sapphire One, her voice like cool water. "Then the seal is failing." The Silver Sister stepped forward. Her eyes, twin moons, met his. "You carry its mark," she said softly. Rhett blinked. "What mark?" She touched his chest. The instant her fingers brushed his flight suit, his veins lit up, glowing with the same gold-blue hue as the river. Cold shot through him, then heat, then both. His knees buckled. Images flooded his mind. Soldiers in armor of light. Dragons bound by energy chains. A planet burning. He saw her, the Crimson One, roaring as ships rained fire from orbit. He saw the dome descending like a tomb over this river, sealing the sisters inside. He gasped and fell backward, ripping off his helmet. The humid air filled his lungs like fire. The Crimson One's eyes burned with ancient fury. "You opened our prison, Skyman. Do you understand what you have done?" Rhett struggled for words. "I just bought the place." "I didn't bought." The Jade One laughed, the sound sharp and alien. "He thinks he owns the dome." The Silver One knelt beside him, studying his face. "He is not their kind," she murmured. "He smells of starlight, not command. Perhaps. He is the key, not the jailer." The awakening river began to churn, waves rising though no wind stirred them. Light intensified until Rhett had to shield his eyes. The Sapphire Sister spoke in a tongue his translator couldn't parse, a song of notes that made the cavern vibrate. From the depths of the river, mechanisms awoke. Titanic rings, long buried, began to rotate. Columns of plasma energy rose, connecting the water to the ceiling above like threads sewing the world back together. The Crimson Sister spread her wings, vast, terrible, magnificent. "If the dome breathes again, the Empire will sense us. They will come to finish what they began." The Silver One turned to Rhett, her gaze piercing yet gentle. "You can still leave," she whispered. "But if you do, the sands will bury all again, and we will sleep until another fool frees us in another age." Rhett looked up at them, heart pounding. "You want me to stay?" "We want you to choose," said the Sapphire One. "Your kind built the dome to enslave what they feared. If you stay, you might unmake that legacy, or repeat it." Rhett stared at the glowing river, at the surreal beauty of these beings who looked both divine and dangerous. Every instinct screamed to run, but the pilot in him, the part that once flew through burning orbits without hesitation, whispered otherwise. He stood slowly, brushing the dust off his suit. "I'm not leaving," he said. "Not until I understand what this place really is." The Crimson Sister smiled faintly, a smile that was equal parts admiration and warning. "Then, Captain Solari," she said, "you are no longer a visitor." She extended her clawed hand toward him. "You are bound to the daughters of Valeris." As her fingers touched his again, the cavern roared to life, light pouring from the river, wind spiraling upward toward the desert ceiling. Far above, the dome trembled, and in orbit around Archean 9, old Imperial satellites blinked awake, transmitting a signal not heard for 1,000 years. The air beneath the desert had turned alive. The river of light surged in chaotic spirals, glowing veins racing across the cavern walls as if the world itself were awakening. From a millennia-long sleep, the 4 dragon sisters stood upon the banks, radiant, terrible, beautiful, and Rhett Solari stood among them, every nerve in his body aflame. He could still feel the Crimson Sister's touch, still see the imprint of her claws burning faintly through the fabric of his flight suit. His veins pulsed with gold and blue light that wasn't his own. "What's happening to me?" he gasped. The Silver Sister, the youngest, gentle but otherworldly, watched with wide, sad eyes. "The dome chose you," she said. "It marked you as bearer. You opened the lock with your living code. The seal recognized your blood." Rhett staggered backward. "I didn't. I just touched the controls. That's it." "The dome remembers more than touch," murmured the Sapphire Sister. Her voice calm but edged with grief. It remembers lineage, echoes, intentions. Perhaps someone long ago bore your name, a commander of the old empire. The Crimson One turned sharply, wings unfurling with a sound like blades drawn from scabbards. It matters not who he is, she snapped. He carries the signature. The dome responds to him. That means he can either free us completely, or destroy us again. Her gaze burned into Rhett's. Which will it be, Skyman? Echoes of the past. Rhett's head swam. Visions flickered behind his eyes. Soldiers in polished exo-armor marching beneath alien skies. Dragons, alive and proud, flying alongside starships before both species turned on each other. He saw the dome, newly constructed, hovering above this same desert before sinking into the sands. He saw the sisters, these sisters, being bound in light, their roars shaking the heavens. The daughters of Valeris, he murmured, the name rolling off his tongue as though it belonged to him. You fought in the War of Orbits. The Sapphire sister nodded slowly. We fought for balance. Your kind fought for dominion. When the war ended, your generals could not kill us, so they built this prison, powered by our own life force, to seal us away. The Jade One's eyes glowed fiercely. And now he wakes us, thinking himself savior. Rhett clenched his fists. I didn't come to play hero. I came because I thought I'd found a quiet place to die. That made them pause. Even the Crimson One tilted her head, curious. You wish for death? The Silver One whispered. Rhett gave a bitter laugh. I wish for peace, but I've never found it. Peace, murmured the Crimson One, is the lie mortals tell themselves when they forget what it costs. She stepped closer, so close that the heat from her body washed over him in waves. Her eyes blazed gold. You hold our chains now, Captain Solari. The dome listens to your blood. One command from you, and we are free, or gone forever. The seal of flesh. Before Rhett could answer, the dome's voice returned, not from above this time, but inside his mind. Containment breach at 94%. Neural link established. User command pending. He fell to his knees as a surge of energy coursed through him. His vision fractured. He could see through their eyes, the river, the ceiling, the planet itself from above. He's linking, cried the Jade Sister. No, said the Sapphire One, realization dawning. The dome is merging him. Rhett's scream echoed across the cavern as the neural fusion deepened. The Silver Sister rushed forward, pressing her palms to his temples. Her scales flickered between silver and white, a desperate glow. Breathe, Skyman, resist it. The dome wants a host, not a partner. Rhett's mind exploded with data, maps of the desert, the dome's schematics, coordinates of orbital satellites still listening after centuries. He saw encrypted Imperial commands and, beneath them, for locked genetic codes, each tied to a dragon's name. You were experiments, he said through gritted teeth, biosynthetic fusions of human and draconic genome. Living reactors, the sisters stiffened. We were born, not built, hissed the Jade One. You were both, Rhett whispered. That's why you're bound to the dome's systems. You are the power source. For a long moment, none of them spoke. The river's light dimmed to a low pulse, like a heartbeat slowing. Then the Crimson Sister, their leader, exhaled softly, smoke curling from her nostrils. Then let it be known, she said, voice breaking into fury. If the Empire built us as weapons, we will choose how we burn. The frozen moment the river erupted in gold fire. Wind howled through the cavern as energy poured upward, cracking stone and sending fragments into the glowing current. The dome's system screamed through Rhett's skull. Containment collapse in progress. Synchronization incomplete. Warning, he felt time slow. The sisters rose above the river, wings outstretched. Rhett stood below, his body suspended between heat and frost. The dome's biolock freezing him mid-breath. His skin turned to glass light, his veins flickering like circuits. He tried to move, but the world had gone silent, every sound stretched into eternity. The Silver Sister reached toward him, her voice like a lullaby breaking through the frozen seconds. Do not fear it, Rhett Solari. The dome cannot decide what you are, man or key. It fears your choice. I can't move, he whispered. What's happening to me? The merge, she said. It's reading your heart. It will decide if you are warden or liberator. And if I fail, the Crimson One's voice thundered above the river. Then you die, and the dome sleeps again. But if you live, she paused, her eyes burning brighter than the twin suns, then you will share our fate. You will bear our fire. Rhett's mind fractured one last time. He saw memories that weren't his, the sisters as children of flame, soaring through alien skies, their laughter echoing in molten canyons, the betrayal of men in uniforms bearing the same insignia now etched faintly on his sleeve. He saw himself standing beside them, not as captor, not as savior, but as something in between. Then, with a blinding surge of light, the river's fire engulfed them all. Aftermath. When Rhett opened his eyes, he was lying on the cavern floor. The river was calm again, a gentle stream of liquid light. His breath fogged in the air. The sisters stood nearby, silent. The crimson one's wings were folded. The jade one looked shaken. The sapphire one was kneeling, her hands over the water, murmuring words in an old tongue. The silver one knelt beside him. "You live," she said softly. Rhett groaned, touching his chest. Beneath the fabric, the glowing mark of the dome had vanished, replaced by a faint sigil burned into his skin. For intertwined serpents surrounding a single star. What did I become?" "Our bridge," she said. "Our link to the world above. You are part of the dome now, and we, part of you." He looked at her, dazed. "You said the Empire will sense this." "They already have," replied the sapphire one, her tone grim. "Look, high above, through the cracks in the cavern roof." Rhett saw faint streaks of light descending from orbit, not meteors, but ships. The crimson one's eyes glowed again, fierce and determined. "They come to finish the war." She spread her wings, and fire rippled across the cavern. "But this time, we are awake." Rhett stood, swaying on his feet. The river's reflection danced across his visor. For the first time in years, he felt something like purpose, sharp and burning. "Then let's make sure they regret waking us," he said. The sisters smiled, for shades of fury and grace, as the dome above them cracked open to the cold stars. From horizon to horizon, the sands of Archean 9 rippled like an awakening beast. What had once been violet dunes now pulsed faintly with light, the buried conduits of the dome re-energizing after 10 centuries of slumber. Above, the night sky burned with motion. Tiny sparks, ships, fell from orbit like shooting stars. The Imperial fleet, long dormant in high orbit, had received the dome's distress call. They were coming to finish what their ancestors began, and at the heart of that desert, standing before the half-shattered dome, Rhett Solari felt the pulse of 2 worlds beating through him, the rhythm of a man's heart, and the slow, thunderous pulse of something draconic. The awakening dome rose from the dunes like a colossal heart of glass and bone, its surface splitting open in luminous fractures. The river from below had burst upward through its floor, forming a torrent of molten light that spiraled into the sky. From that blazing core stepped the 4 sisters, crimson, sapphire, jade, and silver, their wings unfurled, their scales shimmering in the wind of a reborn world. Each bore a different expression: crimson, fierce with vengeance; sapphire, solemn and wise; jade, eager for the hunt; silver, serene yet uncertain, her gaze fixed on Rhett. "They are above," said Crimson, her voice shaking the air. "The fleet awakens. Then they know the dome has been breached." Sapphire replied. "Let them come," hissed Jade, eyes flashing emerald fire. "Let them burn." The silver sister glanced at Rhett. "And what of you, Skyman? Will you stand among gods or hide among ghosts?" Rhett adjusted his flight harness, his old pilot's instincts returning with each breath. "I've hidden long enough." The fleet descends first of the Imperial dreadnoughts broke atmosphere like falling suns. Colossal vessels, their hulls bristling with plasma cannons and solar sails black as midnight. The air screamed as they entered, leaving trails of vapor that carved scars across the heavens. Rhett's visor displayed their numbers: 32 warships, 10 carriers. "Gods help us." "No gods here," murmured Crimson. "Only dragons and men." Her wings snapped wide, scattering molten dust. "We take the sky." The sisters leapt. Rhett felt their energy surge through him like blood through an artery. The dome responded, its internal reactors aligning with the rhythm of his heart. His skimmer's systems came alive, reshaped by the fusion of man and myth. The craft rose from the sand, its thrusters glowing the same hue as the river's light. Ret Solari, whispered the dome's voice inside his mind. You are no longer pilot. You are conduit. He smiled grimly. Then let's conduct some fire. The battle over Archean 9, the sisters erupted into the upper atmosphere, their wings igniting into trails of living flame. Ret followed in their wake, the skimmer weaving between plasma bursts and laser arcs. Crimson struck first, a storm of heat that melted the leading dreadnought's armor. She roared, her voice shaking the ship's reactors into overload. Jade dove through the wreckage, talons slicing through hull plating like paper. Sapphire raised her claws to the stars, summoning a field of gravitational distortion that turned incoming missiles into frozen shards of light. And Silver, gentle Silver, flew above them all, weaving threads of radiant energy that sealed their wounds and strengthened their wings. Ret soared alongside her, every motion guided by instinct older than reason. Their minds brushed through the neural link, man and dragon moving as one. Do you fear death, Skyman? Her voice whispered in his mind. Not tonight, he thought back. I fear forgetting why we fight. Below them, the desert glowed like molten glass. Each blast from the fleet lit the horizon, turning dunes into oceans of fire. The Emperor's shadow from the fleet's command carrier. A deep voice thundered through the calms, old, metallic, half-machine. This world is sealed by decree of the Imperial resurrection. All non-authorized life will be purged. Ret's stomach turned. He knew that voice. It was Admiral Corvin, a man who had once commanded his squadron in the Outer Belt, now reduced to a cybernetic relic still fighting a war centuries lost. Corvin, Ret said into the comm. It's Solari. You're attacking a myth. Solari is dead, the Admiral replied coldly. And the myths are weapons. Stand down or join them in annihilation. The comm cut. Crimson's wings flared. Then let him burn with his gods. But Ret shook his head. No, if he sees what this planet really is, if he sees you, maybe we don't have to destroy everything. Sapphire regarded him quietly. Then show him. The mergy as the fleet unleashed another barrage. Ret pushed his skimmer higher, above the sisters, into the stratosphere. His body trembled, the dome's energy rising through his veins like liquid lightning. Authorization override, the dome whispered. Do you wish to merge with planetary core? He hesitated. He saw the sisters below, blazing like stars. He saw the fleet above, cold and merciless. And for the first time, he realized what the dome truly was, not a prison, not a weapon, but a living bridge between two kinds of creation, technology and spirit. Do it, he said. The merge began. His ship dissolved into light, his body expanding outward until he was no longer flesh, but energy, a network of awareness spanning the desert, the dome, the river, the sky. He could see everything. He felt the sisters' fear, rage, and hope. He felt the Admiral's command deck vibrating with the hum of death. And he understood. Enough, he roared, not with his voice, but with the planets. The dome answered. Beams of golden energy shot upward from the desert, striking the dreadnoughts with precision that was both surgical and divine. One by one, their systems shut down, weapons disarmed, engines silenced. The fleet drifted helplessly, bathed in the light of a world reborn. The Choicerhet's mind burned. The merge was killing him. His human body couldn't hold the power of a planet. The dome's voice trembled. Host integrity failing. Decision required. Sever link or ascend. What happens if I ascend? You will no longer be human. He looked down at the sisters, now circling in awe beneath the aurora of his creation. The Silver One's voice reached him through the blinding storm. Ret, you cannot stay. You'll vanish. If I stay, the dome lives. You'll be free. And you? He smiled, his consciousness already dissolving into starlight. I was never good at retirement anyway. Fire in the cold sky. The dome erupted one final time. A column of pure light piercing both suns. The shockwave rolled across Archean 9, transforming the desert into crystal plains that reflected the sky like water. The Imperial fleet retreated, engines flickering out of fear more than damage. The Admiral's voice never returned. When the light faded, the dome was gone. In its place stood a vast lake. The river's mouth finally opened to the air. The First Sisters stood on its shore, the wind curling around them. He is gone, whispered Silver. Not gone, said Sapphire. He is the dome now. The bridge lives, a mortal became memory, murmured Crimson. He will be sung among dragons, and among men, added Jade. Smiling faintly, they turned their eyes to the twin suns rising over the horizon, painting the glassy desert gold. For the first time in 1,000 years, Archean 9 breathed. The world was no longer dead. Its heart, half man, half myth, beat once more beneath its sands, and high above. In the thin air where stars met dawn, a faint voice whispered through the wind, "Fly safe, daughters of Valeris. The sky's yours now." Epilogue. The memory of fire centuries later. Travelers crossing the crystalline plains would speak of a shimmering lake that glowed even at night, and of four-winged lights that danced in the heavens above it. They called it Solari's mirror, where the sky reflects the soul of a pilot who became a star, and deep beneath that mirrored surface, in the silent glow of the old river, the dome still dreamed, waiting for the day it would open again.